Welcome back to the show. The new year is a perfect time for everyone to make sure their mental health is in check. This is specifically true for teens as they face confusing challenges each and every day. Christina works as a psychiatric mental health professional, and she's here to shed some light on youth mental health, especially here with Lokiten. Good morning.
Good morning, Krista.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
So it's kind of an exciting time, but also like we talked about, could be like a little bit of a challenging time for teens, especially as we turn into the new year, kind of going to those new challenges. What are they going to be facing? So let's kind of talk about those challenges and what the youth are really going to be facing, especially that might be different from other generations.
Oh, absolutely. The youth of today, first of all, the generation now is facing things that we never did.
Yes.
The technology, this is the first generation without knowing what life is like without a cell phone or a smartphone.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So, you know, between the lack of connection because of being on the phones, the social media, pressures from schools are much different these days. There's a lot of standardized testing, and kids are getting their degrees in college before they're even done with high school. There's a lot of pressure. There's not time for them to rest and relax. And also social media. There's people curate their lives on social media, and there's a lot of perception by other kids and teens that maybe somebody else's life is so much better than their own.
It's a lot of comparing, I feel like, that happens, whether
Yes.
it's comparing with the schools, with the grades, with your other peers, a lot of that.
Absolutely. And then additionally, there's cyberbullying, and that is a very real and true threat to kids. Statistics show that kids who are bullied are actually more likely to be at higher risk for suicidal thinking.
Yikes, it's kind of a scary thought.
Yeah.
So what are some strategies that you might have to give parents and caregivers to help their youth with some mental health?
I have a lot, but I'm going to try to
condense it.
Yes, absolutely. You know, structure, routine, predictability, that is very important. But the most important thing is connecting with your kids.
Yeah.
Kids need to feel seen and heard and understood. You don't have to, as a parent, solve their problems in one sitting. I would say it only takes a few minutes every day. We have busy lives. People are multitasking, multiple jobs. If you don't have time to sit down and have dinner together and look each other in the eyes and ask how your day was, then just take 10 minutes out of the day, whenever that is, and really just take that time to connect with your kid. That connection and that them feeling heard and validated, understood, is the most important thing.
And also let's talk early intervention too, and how that might be beneficial, especially for those long-term outcomes.
Yes, absolutely. Early intervention is key because kids go through developmental stages in their lives, and there are certain things they need to accomplish at each stage. And if they don't do that, they can kind of get stuck. And I'm sure we all know some adults that seem to be stuck at a certain age, and that really is true and a real thing. And you can't navigate life in a healthy way without being able to accomplish those things. So the earlier we intervene, the better they can get back on track and rolling and keep going with the rest of their lives.
But it also might be nice to talk to a professional who tells them that they are heard, or they're not wrong, or that there are options for them besides going down to the negatives.
Absolutely. It's very important for people to focus on mental health and wellness, and kids need to learn that at an early age.
So speaking of learning, let's talk about the signs that parents can kind of see when their youth or their child or their person they're looking after might need a little bit more of mental health care.
Absolutely. Common signs would be signs of distress, isolation, not hanging out with their friends that they normally do, or a quick change of friends, anger outbursts, running away, or skipping school, things like that. Sometimes it looks like just the things that they used to enjoy, they don't want to do it anymore. They just want to sit there on their phone or do nothing, and not having the zest for life that they used to have. Those are pretty good signs. And what parents and educators should do, honestly, is give us a call. Let us at Lokiten take a look at these guys and meet with the families and their children. Worst case scenario, you took some time to have a well check for mental health and you're validated that everything is okay. And best case scenario, you have saved the life of a child.
Wow. Wouldn't that be an incredible way to go on into the New Year's by saving a child?
Yes, very important.
Lokiten Behavioral Health, you guys have treatment options. How do you guys approach treatment when it comes to issues like this?
We do it from a holistic perspective, especially with kids. You have to consider their developmental stage, but you also have to consider things such as, who are they sitting with at lunch? That really matters. Or are they sitting alone? Who are their friends? What family, how are they connected with their family? And also things such as how they're coping with things. Nutrition, that matters. It affects mental health. How much sleep are you getting? That also matters. And most importantly, we collaborate with community partners. So we obviously very much partner with parents in order to promote the mental health of their child. They know their child the best. So we listen to them, we partner with them, and we take the time to incorporate them and their child together in with this treatment. Also, we will collaborate with primary care physicians or nurse practitioners. We will talk with other therapists, other therapy centers, teachers. We feel it's very important because it really does take a village to help heal a child.
Wow, it's interesting that you mentioned how the parent is just as involved as the child is as well, or the student, or the young person, because it's kind of like it's a team effort. It's like a whole collaborative thing to make sure that that teen gets what the best possible care that they could have.
Absolutely. It really does take that village.
All right. Well, Christina, we're not quite done with her yet. We're going to learn a little bit more about the youth services offered specifically with Lokiten Behavioral Health, and then maybe some other things that you can look for. If you're looking for a full list of mental health services from Lokiten by visiting their website that you see on your screen right now, we'd also like to thank Lokiten Behavioral Health for bringing us this segment this morning.